Hello everyone, I am Siddharthan. This is the 14th topic in our complete Python course where we will be discussing about list, tuple, set and dictionary. In the previous sections, we have discussed about the data types such as integers, floating points, strings, boolean, etc. And these are single data points. So you can have like single integer, single floating point, single string and so on. But list, tuple, set and dictionary has the capacity to hold multiple data points. A list can have, let's say, 10 integers or a mix of 5 integers and 5 floating points and so on. So they can like hold multiple data points just like arrays. So this is what we will be discussing in today's video, and let's get started. So I will be doing this coding in my Jupyter notebook. You can use Google Colab or other IDEs as well as usual. So first I'll just like create a text cell here by choosing markdown, and first I'll mention this as list. So first let's discuss about list data type. So list is just similar to an array that we have in C programming. The main aspect about list is like it's not like you can only store integer values. You can also like store a combination of integers, floating points, and any data types that you have in Python. So let's say that we are creating a list first. So this is for creating a list, and here I say my underscore list. So this is the variable name that we are creating, but you can have any names, list underscore one, list underscore two, or anything. So here I'm creating this as my underscore list, which is equal to, so we have to put the values in square bracket. So when you use square bracket, that means it is a list. And also you can have empty list as well. So this is basically an empty list. So if I print this, right, my list, so this is going to just print this empty square bracket. But if you check this type of my list, it's going to say it is a list. Okay, or even you can just put a print statement before it would say that it belongs to the class list. So this is how you can initiate a list with a empty list. Now let's see how we can add some values to it. So the list values or the list elements are separated by comma. So I can say 1 comma 2 comma 3 4 and 5. So this list has, let's say, 5 values. So when I print this, the list will be printed like this. And if you want to look at the total number of elements that's present in a list, you can just simply say print length. So the same function that we would have used in the case of string, which would tell you the total number of characters, spaces and everything that you have in a string, right? Whereas in this case, the print length would give you, let's say, my list. So we are putting this my list within the parentheses of this length function, and that would return the total numbers as 5. Okay, and as I said, you can have any data types there. So I can have, like, in this case we have only considered integer values, right? But we can also say 1 comma 2 comma 3.5 4.67, and let's say true, which is boolean, right? So with uppercase T. And then I can also say Python, right? So these are like this is an example where uh, you can have multiple data types. It's not like limited to a list can have only integer, or it can have only floating point value. So it's not like that. It can have like these mix of data points. So that's about it. And then again I can print this my list, and this would print the list with like all those different data types here. So if you want, you can again check this type that would say it as my list. Maybe I'll just copy this. So here we are creating this list with the same variable name my list, but you can just like feel free to use a different name as well. So that shouldn't be a problem. So that's another example. And list are mutable data type. So maybe I'll put a markdown here and I'll write this here. So lists are mutable. That means you can change the values once you have created the list. But in the case of integers, floats, strings, and so on, you cannot change the values once it has been created. In the next video, I'll explain you in detail about this mutability and immutability. But just remember that lists are mutable. Mutable means we can change the values once the list has been created. We'll put it this way. So lists are mutable. That means values can be changed in the original list once it is created. Okay, so that's about this immutability. I'll put this part in bold using this asterisk marker. So let's say that we have a my list, right? So let's say we are considering the same example of my list, right? And then I can access individual elements of this list by saying my list of, let's say, 0, right? So when I print this, that's going to say 1, right? So this is how you can access the individual values. And as we said, lists are mutable, right? So one example for that is, let's say that we have created a list and that's stored in this mylist variable. If you want to add a new value, you can simply say mylist dot append and just some value, let's say 50. So this is going to append this value 50 to this existing list. Wait, let's move this up. Let's discuss this index later. I'll just like append this value. So this is going to take this my list and add this value 50 to this original list that's stored in this variable. So this is why we say that lists are mutable. So I'll run this, and once we have appended it, we are going to print this my list. When you print this, you get the value as 1, 2, 3.5, 4.67, true, Python, and 50. So this is how you can edit the list once it has been created and it's still in the same value. So we are editing the original list that has been created. So again, we can edit specific values that's present in a list. So that's why we need to understand this concept of indexing. So we have also discussed about indexing in the case of strings, and we have discussed that in Python indexing starts from 0. That means you start counting from 0. So you call this number as index 0. So that means, like, index 0 is the first number, index 1 is the second number, and so on. So this 1 would have the index of 0, 2 would have the index of 1, this number would have the index of 2, and so on. So this would like look something like this. The indexing would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, right? So index of 0, so my list index of 0 represents this value 1. Index of 1, which is this value, represents this one. So when you say my list of 0, it means print the value that's present in the index 0. So that's going to be this number. Okay, so I'll run this. So similarly, you can just like print other values as well. So when I put 2 over here, so the index 2 is, this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So it's going to print 3.5 here, let's say. So it's printing 3.5. So this is how you can access specific values using their index number. So using this index value, as we said, lists are mutable, we can change the values as well. So I can say my list of 2 is equal to, let's say, 100. So what I'm doing is accessing this my list of 2, which is this 3.5, and I'm trying to change this value to 100. And I can print this by saying my list, right? So when I run this 3.5 that was originally there, so this has been replaced with this 100. So this is how you can edit the list values using this indexing. So you can just mention the index and just like replace the value. So as this is mutable, we can also remove certain values. So this is for removing an item from the list. So here I can say my underscore list dot remove, and in the parenthesis mention the value you want to remove. Let's say that I want to remove this value 4.67. So I will just say my list dot remove, mention the exact value that you want to remove, and then you can finally print my list. So this is going to say 1 to 100. So this 4.67 is not there anymore. So this is how you can delete a particular value that's present within a list. So that's the other thing. Okay, so this is why we say that lists are mutable. So these are like very basic stuff about list, and once we discuss about mutability and immutability in the next video, I'll explain you in detail about this list and also like other detailed operations that we can do. So there is like more to it, like how to create list with for loop, and how for loop and list kind of plays together, and so on. There is like more to discuss. We will be discussing that, like, and how to append to list and so on. So that will be discussed in that video. But this is in this video I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to this particular data type of list, and then we can move on to this tuple set dictionary and so on. So here we have successfully discussed about list. Now I'll create another markdown cell here, and I'll name this as tuple. So tuple is another interesting data type. It's just similar to list. The only difference, or the main difference, is that tuples are immutable. That means you cannot change the values once you have created them. You can kind of store it in a different variable, but you cannot like change that original value as we have did with list. So here I'll change this to markdown by just clicking here and pressing M button, and here I can say tuples are immutable. That means you cannot change the values that's present in a list. So values of a tuple cannot be changed, just like you know a list, right? So tuples are immutable. Now Let's say that we are creating a tuple and I'll call this as my tuple. So I can say my underscore tuple is equal to. So we know that lists are enclosed in square brackets, right? Whereas tuples are enclosed in parentheses. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So these are the values that I have in tuple, and then I can just print this as my tuple and it would just like look similar. Your tuple is enclosed in this parenthesis, right? So this is how you can create tuples. There are also conversions possible. Maybe I'll just give you an introduction to that, but let's discuss that later when we discuss in detail about tuples or list maybe. So you can kind of convert a list into a tuple as well. Let's say that we have a list like this: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this can be converted into a tuple by saying my tuple is equal to, use the keyword Python keyword tuple. So tuple is like a keyword that we have in Python. As you can see, this is turned green in color. Now you can pass the list that you have created and print my tuple and print the type of my tuple. So here we are creating a list and then later converting it to a tuple. So either you can create this directly by using this parenthesis, or the other way is you can you know uh, create a list and then convert it using this Python keyword of tuple. So I'll run this. So it's going to convert this list that's present in square bracket. So of look at this parenthesis or the square brackets type. If it's in square bracket, it is a list. As you can see, this my list that's present in a square bracket has been converted into a tuple. As we can see the parenthesis here, and we have also printed the data type over here. So this is how you can convert a tuple into list. So similarly, you can also convert tuple to list as well. So let's say that we have this as the tuple, and this can be converted into, let's say I'll call this as list1. List underscore 1 is equal to, use the keyword list. So list is the keyword to mention list data types, and pass my tuple here, and then you can just print your list and also the type of this list. So first we have started with a tuple and now we have converted into a list. So this is how you can do this conversion of one data type to another. So from list to tuple and tuple to list, right? So this is another thing about it. Maybe I'll copy this again. Now let's work with tuple. So we have my tuple value as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and similarly you can have like multiple data types as well. It's not like it can only have floating point values or integers alone or something. So it can have mix of these data types. I'll say maybe Python. So it has like mix of integer, floating points and string now, right? We can print this as my tuple. So we have these values, and similarly you can just like check this type by just running this print type my tuple. Okay. So now similar to list, you can access the values that's present in a tuple using index. So I can say print my tuple square bracket 0. So whenever you want to access values using index, you have to put that index value within square bracket after the data type. So here the data type is stored in the variable called as my tuple. So after my tuple, I can mention the square bracket, mention the index value. So that's going to print that number. So my tuple of 0 is nothing but zeroth value, which is 1. So this is 1 belongs to index 0. This 2.5 belongs to index 1. This belongs to index 2 and so on, right? So my tuple 1, and we get this value, right? So we are just accessing it within index, but as tuples are immutable, we cannot change the values as we have did here. So here we have accessed a specific element in the list and we have changed it. So in the case we have changed this 3.5 to 100, right? But we cannot do this in the case of tuple. Let's say that I'm saying my tuple of let's say 2 is equal to 100. So that's going to throw a error saying tuple object does not support item assignment. So tuples are immutable. That means you cannot change, edit or delete any values once it has been kind of created. So even you cannot like append any values as you would do in a list. So that's like the main difference between tuple and list. So that's enough about tuple. So the next data type that we will be discussing is a set. So I'll say this as set. So let's create a set. So sets are enclosed in curly braces. So lists are enclosed in square brackets, tuples are enclosed in parentheses, and set is enclosed in curly bracket or the curly braces, like you whatever you call them. So let's say that I say my set is equal to the curly brackets, and I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I can print my set. So this would give the values as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the interesting thing about set is I can say this as my set is equal to, put the curly brackets over here and say 1 comma 3 comma 5, 4, and 2. Let's say these are the values, and now I'm printing my set. So I'm just like creating a simple set and I'm printing it, right? So note what happens here. So I add the values 1, 3, 5, 4, and 2, but these values has been ordered as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is another nature of set. So if you have like some values in it, right? So these values are going to be ordered when you're kind of printing it or like when you're accessing it. So this is about the set. So let's say that you want to order a list that has like kind of values that are not ordered. You can just convert that list into a set, and that would kind of order the stuff there. So let's say that we have this list one as values like, let's say, 5, 4, 2, 1, and 3. So these are the values, and now let's say that you want to order these values. So what you can do is you can just say that set1 is equal to, use the keyword set and then pass this list1. So this is going to convert this list into a set. Print this set1. As you can see, now this list has been ordered, but if you want to convert this back to a list, you can say list2. So we are storing this in list2, but again you can use the same variable name list1 as well. So I'll say list2 is equal to list of set1. So what we are basically doing here is first converting a list to a set, and as this is a set, it's going to order these values, and then we are converting back to a list, and then you can print this by saying print list2. So this is like another operation that you can look at. So this is how you can start with an unordered list and you can order it using a set. You can also add values to the set, as sets are also a mutable data type. So here I'll say this as set is a mutable data type. So I can say, let's maybe use this thing, my set, or maybe I'll use these values that are ordered. Let's say my set is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and maybe print that first. So it has the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and let's also check the type. Class belongs to set, and now I can say my set dot add 6 in parentheses. So this is going to add the value 6 to the set my set, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this 6 has been added to this variable which has set my set, and we have added this value 6 to it. Similarly, you can delete the values as well. So for this, you can say my set dot remove. Let's remove the value 2 and print my set. So now as you can see, the value 2 has been removed. So this is how you can edit the values. You can add some values to this, or you can kind of uh, delete some values to it. The other distinct characteristics about this set is that when I put my set of 0, you cannot access the values with index. So set doesn't have the concept of index, so you cannot access the individual values using any index. So when you try to do that, you would get a type error saying set object is not subscriptable, which basically means that we can't access the values using index. So that's like another distinct characteristic about this set. So these are the first three data types that we want to discuss, which is first is list, next one is tuple, and then we have discussed about set. So out of these, list and set are mutable, whereas tuple is immutable. And the other data type, the fourth data type that we are going to discuss, is a dictionary. So I'll say fourth one is dictionary. So out of these four data types, right, list and dictionary. So these two are something that you often use when you're working in general with Python. So you also use set and tuple once in a while, but when you in a comparative way, list and dictionary are like widely used, and in a lot of cases, dictionary is like a go-to data type where you want to like store some values with some key value pairs and so on. So I'll explain you what this looks like, and this is also a mutable data type. So here maybe I'll mention this as dictionaries. are mutable. Okay, maybe I'll also put the keyword for each of this behind this. So list can be created with using this like keyword list. Tuple, again the same thing, we would have tuple all lowercase letter. Set is also same, SCT. And for dictionary, we can create it using the keyword dict. Okay, and then dictionaries are mutable, as I said. So dictionaries are like very different from whatever we have discussed, right? So we have list, tuple, set, which basically holds multiple values. We can access like, let's say, values with index in the case of, you know, uh, tuples and list, whereas the dictionary structure is slightly different. Let's say that I'm creating a variable and calling this as my dictionary. So my dictionary, or basically a dictionary also, is enclosed in curly brackets, right? Just like your set, but it would have a key value pair. So this is how it would look like. A dictionary would have a, you know, key and a value. So this value can be, maybe I'll put this without quotes. So it can be an integer or a float or a string as well. So it can have multiple key value pairs. Let's call this key 2. This is value 2. So this is how a dictionary would look like. Okay, I'll show you this. So here, let's say that we have the values as name is Alice and age of Alice is, let's say, 25, and let's say we have another. So this can also be an integer. Maybe I'll put this in an integer. It's not like we can have only string or float values or integer values. The values can be strings, you know, uh, integers, floats, and so on. So city is, let's say, New York. So this basically is a key value pair. So the first value that you're seeing, this name is a key, and the corresponding value for this key name is Alice. And here age is key and the value is 25. City is key, New York is my value. So now I'll print my dictionary. This is going to say name Alice, age 25, city New York. So this is how you can create a dictionary. And the other thing about dictionary is that you can have multiple key value pairs with the same value, but you cannot have the same keys. Let's say that I have this dictionary, right? So my dictionary, I can, create a new key value pair. Let's say, let's call this as country. And in country, I'm going to access this, or basically say that USA. Okay. So this is how you can add a key value pair to this. So I can say my dictionary, the name of the variable, in square bracket, mention the new key that you want to create, which is country, and mention the value that you want to add. So when I run this and now print the dictionary, it's going to say the same thing, name, age, city, but we have added a new key value pair called as country USA. Now, if I add something like this, name is equal to, let's say, John, and print this my dictionary, it cannot have two keys with the same name. So you already have name, so you cannot have another name here. So what you would see is this name is kind of replaced here. And this is also another way how you can edit certain values, right? So this is how you can create new key value pairs, and this is how you can edit values, but you cannot have two key value pairs where the key is same. But I can say something like this. Let's say that I'm creating a new key called as name 1, and the value is John. So in this case, the key is different. So this is name and this is name 1. So it's different. The values are same. So that's kind of allowed. But you cannot have two keys with the same name. So the first, when you do that, the value will be replaced. Or in other way, in other words, what we are basically doing is we are editing the value Alice to John. So that's what we are doing. So we cannot have like a dictionary with two same keys. So that's like another main thing. And as I said, we have already seen how you can access the values. Let's say that you want to find what's the age of the person that's present within this dictionary. So you can simply say print my dictionary. In quotes, just mention the key that you for which you want to get the value. So when you call my dictionary of age, it's going to get this value and print it. So it looks into this my dictionary and looks at this key that we have passed, which is age, and give you the values. Okay, so this is how you can access it. If I want to access, city, I can just like replace this age with city. So this is how you can access the values. And if you want to look at all the keys that's present in a dictionary, you can simply say print my dictionary dot keys. Don't forget to open and close your parenthesis. So it's print my dictionary dot keys and run this. So this is going to say dict keys, the dictionary keys that are name, age, city, country, and name. If you want to print the values that's present in the entire dictionary, so instead of keys, say values. Okay, so we have dict values. So this is dict keys, the dictionary keys, and this is the dict values. The dictionary values as John, 25, New York, USA, and John. So this is how you can print like all the key and value pairs. And we have already discussed about like how we can kind of add new key value pairs to this, and how you can edit this. Maybe we can edit discuss about this edit once again as well. But before that, I'll tell you how you can delete a certain key value pair. Let's say that I want to delete this key value pair of USA, country USA. I'll maybe print this my dictionary again. And let's say that we want to delete this particular key value pair. So I can say del, delete, which is also a Python keyword. I can say my dictionary. So use this underscore here. And within square brackets in quotes, mention the key, which is country in this case. And then you can print my dictionary. So that's going to say name, age, city, and name one. So we have deleted this country. So if you want to edit certain values, right, we can just use the previous method that we have seen here. So here I can simply say my dictionary of name is equal to Alice. And I'm going to say my dictionary of age is equal to 35. So previously the name is John and the age is 25. So we are changing it with Alice and 35. And then we can print the dictionary as well. So when I run this, I get the values as name Alice, age 35. So these values, this John and 25 has been replaced with Alice and 35, and then we have the other values as it is city and name one. So this is how you can edit the values that we have already created, where we have this my dictionary, right? Just like a list or a set, the values and the values. In the case of list, it's values. In the case of dictionary, it's a key value pair. So those values can be changed by using this key name. Okay, so this is about the four sequential data types that we have in Python. So we have list, tuple, set, and dictionary, and we have also seen that list, set, and dictionary are mutable. That means you can change those values, whereas as tuple is kind of immutable. So set, list, and dictionary can be changed, whereas tuple cannot be changed. So these are about the basics of these four data types. So please practice this code, whatever I've given you. And in the next video, let's discuss about this concept of mutability and immutability. Thanks for watching.